Carlos, the show is yours.
All right. Well, I'll just call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone. Hope everyone's staying safe. Appreciate everybody who is online with us. First order of business is I'd like to welcome returning board member Randy McCaslin. I don't know if Randy's on.
Doesn't seem to be.
Okay. Well, yeah, Randy was on the High Point EDC board. So as I mentioned, he is returning. He was on the board back in 2014 and 15. If he was on, this would be his first time, I guess, as interim city manager. So I guess we'll have to extend a welcome to him when next time we do see him virtually or in person. But before we go on with this, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, who's got a couple of housekeeping items that we need to take care of before we proceed. Go ahead, Lauren.
Well, this is our first virtual meeting, and we have folks on Zoom who are board members, but we have people, the public, the media, watching us or listening to us via Facebook Live. And so for those folks, the person who was just speaking before you was Carlos Olvera, who is our chairman. The person speaking now, I'm Lauren Hill, and I'm president of the High Point EDC. And folks, as we talk today, it'll be important that even though you can see one another, most of you on the screen, that if someone speaks or someone's called on, the name is mentioned so that we know, so the people who can't see us know who's with us today. This is, I'll be able to watch this on Facebook Live tomorrow. Anybody wants to see it on YouTube, if you are bored enough to want to watch it again, and others will be watching it as well. I'm going to call the roll just so that folks who are listening will know who's in the room now. So bear with me, we'll do this as fast as we can. I see LaTanya Bailey's on, so you don't have to speak, LaTanya, but you may. Is Patrick Chapin here?
He was trying to join. He had sent me a text, so Ryan's working on him.
Okay. Bruce Davis, I haven't seen Bruce yet. Beth Ernst is here. Carolina Foster is here. I've not seen either Maurice Hull or Jackie King. Are either of them? We heard that Darlene is not here, but is trying to get here. We don't have Randy, but I see that Britt Moore is connecting right now. So Britt, the councilman, has just joined us. Carlos Olvera is here. I've not seen Chris Patrick. I've not seen Lenny Peters. Mark Prince told us he was here. Corey Rayburn said he was here. I've not seen or heard Scott Tilley. Mayor Jay Wagner is with us. Chris Whiteful is with us. Royal Wiggin is with us. That's our voting board members. For our liaisons, I've not seen Owen Birchie. Melody Burnett is with us. I've not seen Don Cameron. Brent Christensen is with us. Tom Connolly is with us. Representative John Faircloth is with us. Ray Gibbs is here. Marty Lawing is here, the county manager. Bill McGuinn is here. I've not seen Jeff Miller. Jim Morgan is here. Tony Clark let me know that he will be here a little late. He wanted to watch the governor's 4 o'clock announcement on phases, so he'll join us as soon as he's able. I've not seen Leah Price. I know Ken Smith won't be with us. Don Swing could not be with us. Jim Worley is here. And I've not seen Coy Willard. And then we have the EDC staff here, Sandy Dunbeck, Penny Westgard, and Marshall Yandel. And our guest, Tom Van Dessel, is with us as well. So thank you all for letting me do the role to make us official with the public. Mr. Chairman, it's back to you.
Hey, thank you. This is Carlos Olvera speaking again. First order of business, Lauren sent out the minutes as part of the package prior to this meeting. So if I could have a motion to accept and to second the minutes, this was from the March 2020 board meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved, LaTanya Bailey.
Second, Jay Wagner.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay. Next order of business.
Chairman, we'll take a quick vote. The city council does the roll call. I'm not going to do a roll call because I think it's going to be unanimous. So why don't you just ask all the yays, and if no one says no, we won't have to go through a roll call vote.
All right. Silence is golden, Lauren.
That's all yeses to me. Let's move on.
That's right. Thank you very much. Lauren mentioned Tom Van Dessel, who is our guest today. Tom has a company by the name of Splashworks. I guess in the not the last couple of years, one of the things that we've been doing on the EDC is taking the opportunity to really learn about the various businesses and the various entities that are in the area. And we did that by hosting the meetings. We try to rotate the meetings to the various businesses. Since we can't do that, obviously, nowadays, we came up with the idea of having maybe a guest speaker to talk about their company. So today we're honored to be joined by Tom Van Dezel, who was a former High Point EDC board member, who now owns a company by the name, well, I'm sorry, used to own Buzzy Space. And in fact, Buzzy Space actually hosted the EDC annual meeting some time ago. So we want to welcome Tom, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Splashworks. But before that, I'm going to turn it over to the staff, who is going to show a video about Splashworks. Very nice, very nice. Tom, thank you very much for being with us here today. I think I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us a little bit more about your company, as well as the move to downtown High Point.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Carlos and Lauren, for inviting me here. In the first place, it's always great to have an opportunity to share what we do with a broader audience than the people that we speak with on a daily basis. And I'd like to sort of turn back the clock a couple of years. And, you know, I actually started coming to High Point in 2012, 2013, because I was actually looking for a place to manufacture. And this was with Buzzy Space. And that's where I met the lovely folks at the EDC, Lauren and Sandy in particular, who I have to say, all the places that I was looking at did the best job of seducing me to come to High Point. So I was definitely a fan from the very beginning, and very much wanted to be a part of all the things that High Point wanted to be in terms of the revitalization and attracting businesses back to the city. So I came in with Buzzy Space, and then when, you know, fast forward now 4 years later or 5 years later, Buzzy Space was sold to a large company in the industry that Buzzy played in the contract furnishings market. And but just prior to that, about a year prior to that, I'd started actually a business by the name of Splashworks. It was a current business, and that was operating out of the basement of Buzzy Space, which is at the old Pickett Cotton Mill on Reading and Tryon. And so at that point, I called my dear friends at EDC again and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a new building. Can you help me?" You know, I drove around with Sandy around town to see which buildings were available, and stumbled upon what I thought was a wonderful building in a wonderful location and a great opportunity. And it's I think you can see it in your packet. It's the building that's right, you know, catty-cornered opposite Congdon Yards, right next door to Stratagon. There are neighbors who I know will be talked about later in your packet as well. And it's been a wonderful opportunity, especially with all the renovation, revitalization work going on right here in the center of town with the baseball field, etc. So extremely happy. That's I would say for the EDC, that's two successes in my interactions with you as a department and an organization to find the right location for my business. So a big thank you for that. You guys just saw the video. It's actually kind of strange. I'm sure there's some music that goes along with it, but I didn't hear it, so it was very quiet. It makes it a little less awkward when you're looking at it, and at least there's a little tune in the background. It's an older video that we made probably about 3 years ago, but it still pretty much talks about the process as it is. Really, it's as you could see, it's a printing process. We print on papers and then we transfer those images onto textiles. That's really what sets us apart from your regular wall art and pillar business, is that everything that we do is imaging onto textiles and fabric. So that again marries very well with a lot of the technology and know-how in this area and in this industry. So we source everything as locally as we can. Most of our fabrics and wood parts come from within a 50-mile radius. So we like to leverage the domestic capabilities as much as we can. You could see that the building as well, you know, it's important extension of the brand. So we've put a lot of work into our building to make it look attractive for designers and retailers, either during market or in between markets, you know, to make sure that they want to come here and that we help the city look as beautiful as it can. I remember when I first came here, I said, you know, High Point's a diamond in the rough, and the edges just need to be polished here and there, you know. And I think we tried to contribute to that and make sure that we do our piece to polish those edges. The COVID, obviously, you know, the business is pretty young, and I would say that COVID hit us pretty hard because 90% of our business is retail, and that was the first thing that sort of dried up, was the retail business. But I'm happy to say that the last 6 weeks, it's definitely come back quite strong, and that's also a testament to the fact that we are a domestic manufacturer, so we can react quickly, you know, when those retailers want to fill their pipeline again. In the video, you also saw, so the main products are wall art and pillows. But you also saw some wall treatments, and I'm sure you must have been wondering, why am I looking at bottles of wine in that bar? Well, that's because the image behind it was actually a mural that we did for the, I forget the name of the winery down the street,
The Rickety Bridge?
Rickety Bridge. Yes, thank you, Rickety Bridge.
Uh-huh.
I've had enough to drink of it. I should remember. Maybe that's the problem. I may have too much to
Yeah.
drink. That's why I don't.
Yeah, great place.
Rickety Bridge Winery. So we did that in their tasting room, and that image actually was an actual image of their wine cellar in South Africa. You know, so we took that image. You also saw the puzzle house. You know, so we showed the image of the puzzle house, and then we scanned that entire building and reproduced that inside the Cisco mill. So you know, those are also some of the custom things that we do. So we have both a strong residential focus, which is obviously the wall art and the pillows for, you know, people's homes, but then we also have an architectural focus where we, you know, take our capabilities and apply that to more architectural projects, whether it be for a restaurant or a hotel or an office space, etc. So that we can also, you know, tap into that market as well. And, you know, I have a little bias towards that market because that was the Buzzy Space business. So we definitely want to try and penetrate as much as we can in that area as well. And that's, yeah, I think that's a short snapshot of what we do and who we are and where we came from.
Great job.
That's great. This guy's Carlos again. Thank you so much, Tom. I'm glad things are going well, and I'm glad you continue to stay in High Point. I'm sure we're all appreciative of that, and much success to you. And if you ever need help drinking wine, call me.
That's not what I need help with, but
yeah. Thanks again.
We should do it anyway, though, right?
yeah, right, exactly.
You saw in your packet pictures of the building before they worked on it and at what it looks like on the outside now, and some pictures from inside. So either now or at some point, I'd recommend you look again at that packet. Tom, tell us about the building. What was it over its course of history, and how much work did you have to do to get it to look as good as it seemingly looks?
Yeah, so the building was built in 1941, and it was actually a hosiery warehouse. So in the front, what's interesting, if you look at the street front facade, if you look at the facade on the street front, you still see some big bricked up openings, which is where they had the big doors to be able to load, you know, all the raw materials in and out. So it was, I mean, it was a pretty basic building, you know, a brick building though, so that's good. The front part actually didn't even have a floor. It had a wooden floor, wood on dirt. So we had to put a complete, you know, so the building's about 12,000 square feet, but we've added about 2,500 square feet on top. So now it's bigger than that. In the first 6,000 square feet, we had to pour concrete, and we pretty much replaced everything. I mean, plumbing, electrical, we replaced the roof. We actually put in the floor, you know, we had to redo the floors because they were no longer up to code. Poured the concrete, electrical. It's been a significant job. And then so we did the first half of the building first. And now just recently we opened up the second 6,000 square feet. So we're now utilizing the entire building. It's amazing how quickly it fills up, even when you double your space. But at least it's better organized. We have better flow, and we're not, you know, tripping over each other as we're trying to get big orders out the door. And it's actually just very exciting. Just not what we're doing in our building, but just every day seeing what's going on in this immediate area and all the changes that are happening. You know, with just well at the whole Congdon Yards, and then next door with Stratagon and etc. and all the road works and the electrical works. It's just a really, really exciting time, I think, for us and for the city of High Point to be right here as well. So.
And Tom wanted, as Sandy showed him buildings, he wanted to be downtown in the thick of things,
Right.
in a redevelopment area, as he had been with Buzzy Space. So that's his MO since we've known him.
Right.
To help revitalize parts of our city. So he's done it now a second time.
Yeah, and it ties in so well with all those other initiatives, right? The small scale manufacturing initiative that I, you know, I'm glad to be a part of. You know, this is really, you know, it really provides so much creativity and vibrancy to a city. So it's just exciting to see that happening, and to see the, you know, the general traffic that the results, you know, as a part of that, and the fact that you see people around is just exciting to be a part of.
That's great. That's great.
This is Councilman Moore. Can I add something, please, Carlos?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just would like to thank Tom too, as a native of High Point, to hear him speak of what his view and perception of High Point was and can be. I find it very interesting because I think sometimes those of us that lived the time of High Point when it was a diamond don't appreciate it maybe as much as he seems to. I find that quite interesting, and I'm very thankful for that. I referenced many times I've heard Nito Quabain talk about his appreciation for the town and the country as someone not coming from here. So I just want to echo the sentiment of saying thank you. High Point is a terrific place.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Britt. And thank you again, Tom.
You're very welcome.
See a lot more of you in the future.
Absolutely. And by the way, once we can do, the physical interactions again, I gladly invite the whole group to come and do the meeting here as well, if that ever is an opportunity. So more than happy to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're welcome to until we go to closed session, but you're also welcome to be on your way if that fits your schedule better.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Take care.
Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you.
Carlos, I just want to add before we move on, we've had people now join our meeting. Patrick Chapin is indeed here. Darlene Littard is listening by phone. Marshall, you were asking. And the Councilman Britt Moore, as you just heard, is here. So those folks have joined us since we did the roll call. If anybody else has joined since the roll call, please unmute yourself and sing out. All right, Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Okay. All right. So we'll just move into the EDC staff updates, and starting with you, Lauren.
Okay. Well, project-wise, as you know, you've seen the media and the emails from us that the Bertano Group is considering southwest part of downtown along Green Drive for their big project, $100 million project. And so we're hopeful we'll land the project. We will know in the next couple of weeks. They told us at the incentive public hearing that within a month they'd have an announcement one way or the other, let us know. And so we're certainly hopeful that that's coming. In our packet, when you look at that, you'll see an article from the News and Record about that. The City Council voted unanimously to authorize performance-based incentives for the project. So we are just sitting back and fingers crossed and hopeful that will come to pass. In your packet, the next item we had listed was on page 10, just showing what's going on with Peters Development as they're making acquisitions. If you haven't driven by recently, the building where Bethany and Peters Development is going to have offices there on Main Street, backs up to the YWCA. That building is looking good, and the building on the exact corner of that intersection I was told last week, will be coming down in the next week or so, and new construction will go there at some point. So that's great news for this same area. The next item we had in our packet was just to talk about Hanesbrand ramping up. Again, they laid off some people early in the pandemic in March, but now are hiring more people than they had before then to handle the load they're having. If you don't have it in front of you, you can look at page 12 later. The neighbor to Tom Van Dessel just talked about Stratagon and a former dry cleaners. And you can see how good that article there shows you the building before and after. And those two buildings side by side, as Patrick Chapin wrote in his chat, are indeed a great neighbors for what's going on at Congdon Yard. So it's wonderful to see that revitalization and energy going on there. Next project, of course, we'll let Patrick later on, if he's available, tell us what's going on when Congdon Yards were able to buy the building right there adjacent to it, and what's going to be going on with that, the Stickley Furniture Building, and how important that is for the whole project. We put in the packet what's going on there in the Mendenhall part of Piedmont Center, several office buildings under construction, soon to be finished. So it was great to see all those projects. We haven't talked about the Elderton Dodge and their new building there on Hamilton. That's pretty impressive looking, part old building rehabbed and part new construction. The retail center at the corner of Piedmont Parkway and Wendover, as you can see on page 19. We shared the article about the budding artichoke opening up a specialty grocery store there on West Lexington right across from the mayor's office. And then the cigar shop that opened up last weekend. So fairly impressive list of projects all in all, when you consider all that's been going on with the economy. We've had certainly some closings during all this time, from Feeney's Yogurt to others have been announced, but I'm impressed by the kind of construction that has continued and the kind of projects that we've been able to announce. The next item I have, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to share it with our mayor if he's able to join us, and that is the City Council voted to authorize a new incentives policy, a targeted downtown incentive policy that's on the books for just 1 year as of now. It would have to stay on the books, would have to be renewed by council. And I included in our packet all of the incentive policies, the other two for the city, the job creation and the capital investment policy, and the map that accompanies it. But beginning on page 25 is the downtown incentive policy that was just done. And Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind giving us the highlights, since this is something you are championing, and we appreciate what you and the council did to get it in place.
Yes, this new incentive policy is based upon our strategic plan to revitalize downtown High Point. And it's a recognition that in order to have a revitalized downtown, we've got to get people working downtown again. And we have to counteract the, I guess, perception that downtown High Point is nothing but showrooms. Unfortunately, a lot of our office space in downtown High Point has been converted to showrooms. So as I've told people for a while, our revitalization is essentially building a new downtown from the ground up. And that's really what we're doing. So what this is about is bringing office jobs back to downtown. It has it's made up of a per job incentive, plus an incentive for upfits of office space, and also a rent subsidy, a sliding rent subsidy that starts at 80% the first year, then drops to 60, 40, and 20 in subsequent years. It only applies to new construction or to a large scale rehab of a building, which we define as 50% increase in value of the existing building. So if you're upfitting a building or you're building a new building, you can come and apply for these incentives. There are a couple of exceptions to the rule. There are always exceptions. There are a couple of exceptions here. One is that it does not apply to a building that is owned by a nonprofit. It would apply to a nonprofit tenant seeking space in a building owned by a for-profit company, but it would not apply to a nonprofit tenant. It also does not apply in a situation where you have an entity that is building a building and is leasing to a wholly owned tenant. So, in those cases, often you have a business that is building a building to occupy, and they create a shell corporation to own the building. So what we want really is a legitimate situation where you have a developer building a building and seeking office tenants for that building. So that's what it's designed to help facilitate and help create. It does run out. We're trying to create a sense of urgency. So it only applies through July 31 of 2021. It will apply to leases signed before that deadline date. So hopefully we will create a little bit of urgency. Right now in the economy, as you can see, we're all meeting on Zoom. We're wondering what that's going to do to office space and the demand for office space, because we could be living in a brand new world when it comes to office space. But we still believe that long term there's going to be a need for people to work together and come together physically to be able to work. So, but folks, we got to get people. If we want the stadium to be successful, if we want Common Yards to be successful, if we want downtown to be successful, we've got to get people working downtown again. It's a vital part of our strategic plan and our long-term strategy to bring revitalization to downtown High Point. So that's what this incentive policy is all about. And please, if you know of people who are looking for office space, let's get them downtown. That's going to be where the action is. That's going to be where our cool restaurants are going to be. That's where the future of High Point is going to be. So let's, if you know of anyone who's looking for office space, by all means, get the word to Sandy and Lauren, and let's get them recruited up and let's find them some space.
And this is Lauren Hill again. Board members, on page 28 of the packet, you'll see the municipal service district that this applies to. This policy only applies to the territory there in the crosshatch.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry. That's it for me.
Okay.
Hey,
to
Lauren,
you.
does the color mean anything? The blue versus red versus yellow?
Blue and yellow are different different service districts.
Okay.
So the one in the dead center, that was my attempt late to put something together that was good. So we didn't have an official designer do it. And I didn't know how to get rid of the blue and the yellow. So, but it generally shows you what we're talking about. Thank you though, Beth, that was
Yeah,
Beth.
and I'll mention that it is limited in terms of time and it is limited in terms of geography. And the reason for that is we're really trying to focus on the stadium district. If this becomes successful, it's something, of course, that the council could look at renewing this time next year or a little bit before. And, you know, if it becomes successful, we might be able to look at, you know, enlarging that to other areas. But right now, we want to be focused on the stadium area because, you know, if you make it available to too wide of an area, you dilute your impact. And so we really, really are pushing for the Catalyst Project area. And hopefully this will help to push that along.
Mr. Chairman, I'll continue on. This is Lauren Hill again, but first we'll welcome Tony Clark. Dr. Clark, we told why you would be late because of the governor's announcement. Anything that we need to hear? And his name is not Kathy Fair, but Kathy Fair works with him. So the name you see on the screen.
There you go. There you go. Well, basically, phase 2 continues for another 5 weeks. And that was sort of the bottom line. Everything's sort of stabilizing, but is high as far as cases and hospitalizations, all that stuff. So the bottom line was the safer at home, the current restrictions for another 5 weeks.
Thank you for
And
that.
that's Tony Clark reporting from there.
And Mr. Chairman, our Gifford County Economic Development Alliance report is just, as you know, since you're chairing it, we had virtual meetings. The teams are working well together. We've taken advantage of virtual meetings, and instead of having the staff get together every 4 to 6 weeks, we get together weekly, and it's been very good for us to work that way. So nothing else to really report from the Alliance at this point. Just one quick notice. I was told just as the meeting was beginning, we need to have a hard stop today at 5:15. The city council is having a meeting, a recess meeting at 5:30, and they need us off this because they'll be on this very channel we're on now. So we've got about 33 minutes to go, and I think that'll be no problem. I just wanted to let everybody know. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to Sandy Dunbeck now.
Thank you. I am Sandy Dunbeck, and Lauren had asked me just to chat about opportunity zones for a minute. And I just wanted to share really that, you know, the mayor had appointed a task force last year, and through that work and really the highlighting and sharing of spaces in High Point's opportunity zones, we've been able to drive a lot of interest, and we've seen numbers of properties come under contract and be considered for projects. The Britano project obviously is one. The first time the Britanos saw the large 614 West Green building that belonged to the Volks, was during an event that we hosted at the stadium to share information about opportunity zones in partnership with Forward High Point Business High Point and the RCA and Realtors Group. So great collaboration, and we did a great bus tour and were able to show buildings that were in the zone down in both zones really of High Point, but the Bertanos saw those buildings then. And we also, through an introduction from the mayor to HUD and the other federal agencies, we hosted another event at City Hall and shared information about High Point and our zones. And they congratulated us on how well we were all working together and what a great example we were, but also connected our local people, to some of the federal programs. We've been able to receive some phase 1 environmental analysis through PTRC to help these buildings move along and to evaluate them as people look to purchase. So it's been a good program for us and really highlighted areas that people might not consider as much sometimes. We're looking always at the areas that are in most demand, and sometimes very close by there are some great, again, diamonds in the rough, and we love to find those for people and to share them with them, like we did for Tom Van Dessel. So anyway, the Opportunity Zone program has really been helpful in that regard. I looked just a few minutes ago, there are at least 30 properties that are listed on CoStar as available that are within the Opportunity Zone. So I keep saying, there are more out there if people have interest in investing. So, people new to our area have invested, but also some of our existing business people have utilized the program to grow their businesses. So again, we've appreciated that, and we're glad to help anybody that has interest in either a real estate or in benefiting through, starting a business and minimizing taxation for that business through being in an opportunity zone. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Carlos, the last staff report, this is Lauren again, is from our Vice President, Marshall Yandel, who's going to talk about our small scale manufacturing efforts.
Thanks, Lauren. And then this is Marshall. Many of you know we were awarded the Smart Growth America Technical Assistance for Small Scale Manufacturing and Place-Based Economic Development in 2018. This is an effort done with different departments in the city, our office, including community development, planning, the business library, and the manager's office. The area of focus that we looked at to have small scale manufacturing as another tool, and of course, place-based economic development, connecting the people that live in the area to the resources that are there. We focused on the Southwest downtown area. We knew that many of the programs or recommendations would benefit the whole city, but that's kind of where we decided to go first. In February, the Smart Growth America came with the consultant, Alana Cruz from Recast Cities. And since that time, the staff has met, Sandy, myself, some folks from the planning office and business library and community development almost weekly. And then once COVID started, we've still been meeting with the teams program. But so we've been meeting weekly since February of last year almost. And so the report was completed in the spring of 2019, and we had the kickoff event in July. The mayor announced the task force, and that task force met several times in the fall to come up with an action plan. That action plan was finalized in November of last year, where there were many recommendations, of course, in the report, but we kind of had to kind of narrow focus down a little bit so we could create a good plan of action for short-term and long-term goals. We came up, the task force decided on 8 different items to focus on and 4 to start immediately. So we started those late fall or beginning of December. The 4 teams that the task force decided to focus on first was training and programming. That's connecting the people in the community to the different resources in there. So for instance, right now we're focusing on kind of that South Side community, so connecting them and letting them know about different potential job opportunities and with employers at close geographic location, of course, GTCC's High Point campus and local workforce development offices. So that group plans to have a kind of a resource fair during National Night Out at the South Side Rec Center. I believe National Night Out's gotten pushed to October, so we're still kind of on that calendar for there. And so there'll be GTCC, our office, the GAP program, workforce development, and others kind of showcasing the different opportunities for training and workforce development. The other thing that the group had planned to do was sort of plant tours and company tours for middle schoolers and young adults. Of course, COVID kind of stopped that. So instead, they're focusing on now mapping out different resources related to workforce development and training to then share with the community so that where they can have interactive links where they could learn more about GTCC or learn more about Workforce Development Board, or even learn about potential job opportunities at close proximity to where they are. So we're still working on that now. The second item that we decided to address was the Southwest Downtown Area Plan. This was an item that the planning department already had in the hopper, so this was kind of moved up in priority. And that is also the area, of course, that we narrowed down to focus geographically for the for this initiative. We originally had kind of that whole census track, and they had asked us to kind of narrow the focus down. So that was moving at a really steady pace before we went into the COVID situation, and so that's kind of been circling the runway a bit. But they're looking at ways to kind of maybe use some virtual technology to kind of get that group back going again. Third was a commercial shared use kitchen, looking at different ways to make sure that there weren't anything within the county or the city that would be an impediment to possibly having one. For those of you who might not know, the commercial shared use kitchen is a commercial kitchen where folks can, you know, for food trucks or apparel meal services or other food products, they could rent a space at a commercial shared use kitchen for a certain amount of time. If you think about folks that make food that they sell at a farmer's market or they sell at another fair out of their homes, they could potentially maybe get an order from a large retailer. A lot of times that minimum order requirement, you know, they can't fulfill that at their house, but the cost of acquiring commercial equipment for cooking is a lot of times cost prohibitive. So this shared use kitchen kind of helps them make that bridge that gap. So they, you know, they look to make sure we had no impediments there. We didn't. So now they're kind of looking at attracting and what we need to do to try to get one in the city. They recently sent out a local a survey to different food trucks in the area, and they're continuing to kind of move forward. And they've had discussions with a private group out of Charlotte to talk with them, who's also kind of I believe opening up one possibly in Greensboro. And the fourth is the targeted properties, which I'll let Sandy talk about in just a second. But before that, I wanted to add that we've also connected with a group called NC Growth from the UNC Kenan Institute of Private Enterprise. We met them through the Economic Development Administration. The Economic Development Administration had funded small scale manufacturing program, and they've also funded NC Growth. And so we connected with them. They had two students work with us, and what we asked them to do is kind of look at different types of programming or out-of-the-box programming that we could leverage the small-scale manufacturing report from. That report that they did was completed and to the task force, I believe, last week. And so they've also, in that report, kind of expanded their research not only to look at different types of programming, but also workforce development related items. So that was a fun project also to work on with them. So And I'm done. I'll turn it over to Sandy to talk about some of the targeted property group and what they've been up to. And we went out there today, and it was great. Sandy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure, thank you. And if Tom Van Dessel is still on the call, he is part of the Targeted Properties group with us, along with Tony Collins and Carol Gregg, myself. Anyway, so the report did suggest that the city should potentially consider, planting a stake really in the area and invest in a property or properties. And so that was something that we set about trying to figure out. And especially as part of that work, we had gotten to know Ingrid Volk, she and her husband, who recently passed away, owned 18 different properties. So in getting to know her, there were some smaller, obvious properties. And if you'll look in your packet, it's page, I believe it's 32, Warren, correct me if I'm wrong, but shows a picture of one of the properties that we were able to secure for small scale manufacturing, really kind of right out of the gate, this 504 Amos Street. It's at Amos and Taylor. And we just thought it had great potential for small scale manufacturing. It could be expandable. There's some additional acreage there. It could have, community garden as well. And it actually already had a tenant in it that was leasing, that wasn't in a purchase. But so this is 504 Amos. Again, that's a property one, we call it right now, about 1,500 square feet. So again, a smaller space. But on the next page, it shows Lee and Margaret Broadway, a minority owned business. Anyway, they do furniture refinishing, do a beautiful job. They had worked previously, I think, with Thomasville Furniture, and they take good care of the property and pay us some income for that. So that's been kind of one of our first small scale manufacturers right in the district that we've been able to assist. And then if you keep going to page, I believe it's 34, shows the property at 713 West Grimes Street, property number 2, that we secured at the same time. And Heidi Galanti of planning actually had pointed this one out to me and said, hey, this is right near where the proposed greenway is to go. If you can get that one, I think that would be a great one. And I agreed very much, got an opportunity to go in and thought the inside was great. We'll have pictures for you of the inside at a future date. But again, this one is about 3,000 square feet. The other one is in better usable condition right now. It already had heat, air, bathrooms, et cetera, et cetera. This one does not. So it needs bathrooms, it needs steps, it needs duct door. But we see this as an opportunity to have a small scale manufacturer in the back, and then an opportunity to tell the story of small scale manufacturing in the front. It is a historic building. I think, what did we say today? Maybe like, it's got to be early 1900s. The neighboring building owner, I got to know him through the work with this one, and he said they called it the railhead. So, that was where deliveries came in. The rail line ran right beside this building. So again, that's the part of the proposed greenway. And anyway, so deliveries were made to this building. So it has great historic significance and importance in the area. And we think it'll just be, great space. You can see in the pictures, it was covered in kudzu, lots of roots. The gutters were not functioning properly, but we were able, through the CDC, to get that cleaned up, and it is highly improved. This picture of the side actually shows just a dirt bare lot. It's grown grass now though, and it looks much better. And I think it'll be a great gathering spot. And that was really what the volunteers on the Target Property Task Force really thought, that they should have a place in that area also to gather and get together and talk about projects. So I think it will ultimately be kind of a showplace for High Point and for small scale manufacturing in the Southwest. And then the last piece that I wanted to share with you is this logo work that we did for Target Properties. And this was through a partnership with our marketing department. Again, you can see the theme, you know, we keep working with marketing, we have ideas and they have all that creative talent and capability. And thank you, Ryan and Brandon, y'all are great helping us. And so the task force, we had some ideas of what we wanted, and we didn't want to brand the whole area yet, but we wanted to be able to put up some signage and get some enthusiasm going and some visibility. So we were trying to come up with what kind of logo we could put on temporary signs and maybe put on the building. So these were the stages that we worked through. I think that's page 36 there. You know, what we kind of started with, and then the next group that's down to 4 are, you know, sort of the finalists. And that last page shows the finalists, which we liked all of those as potentials really for the buildings. And we took a poll really of some of the prospective building owners and asked them, you know, what did they like and what would they be willing to put on their building? And so we got that feedback, and then we shared with the small scale committee, and what we came up with is the one that is first in that lineup, the kind of blue with the gray maker. And I think that was part of even Tom Van Dessel's encouragement that, you know, we didn't necessarily have to say small scale manufacturing as the main thing. You know, these are people that are making things, and it is kind of our version of maker area in addition to other areas of the city. But so that's going to be a logo there that we'll use for our signage when we get it completed and potentially have for buildings. There are other larger efforts that we're participating in to name and brand areas. But this is just the part right now that will work at branding the buildings in that effort. And that's really all I had to share today. There's a lot more work still to do, but so there'll be forthcoming reports in other meetings.
Mr. Chairman, this is Lauren Hill again, and that's the staff report.
Okay, Lauren, what I'm thinking, since we've got a hard stop in about 14 minutes, one of the things that we said we wanted to do was to hear from board members in terms of what are they seeing or impacts from the pandemic. Why don't we kind of roll that into maybe if someone get into the governmental reports and an opportunity to hear from the allies, if that's okay. If you want to, if anyone
wants to make a report, would be just fine, Mr. Chairman.
That's perfect. If somebody wants to mention the pandemic and the parts of their reports, that's great. So why don't Mayor Jay, got anything to share with us?
I was going to talk about the incentive plan, so I've already done that. We are meeting again at 5:30 today. I'll keep it short. Just, you know, mainly working on some zoning matters and whatnot. But you know, we continue to try to keep things moving and not let COVID distract us too much from our objectives. So everybody on council, I think, is working hard, and hopefully within the next not too long, we'll have some idea about beginning to work to hire a new manager, and, you know, try to keep that process moving as well. But we're trying not to get too distracted, and we have been able to generally come back together for our meetings and spread out. It's been beneficial to have everybody in the room, I think, rather than meeting remotely. So we're trying to just try to keep the herd moving, you know, and that's really where we are. But if anybody has any concerns or has any ideas, my door is always open. So look forward to hearing from anybody.
That's great. Thank you for that, Jay. Carlvina, I'll turn it over to you. Anything you'd like to share? Carvina still on?
Oh, I am on. I'm sorry. Marty's on as well. So I think that Marty may be giving the report. I'm sorry. What we want to say is that we revamped the Small Business Cares Grant. relaunched that this past Wednesday, changed some of the parameters so that businesses can have more than 25 employees and gross receipts can be up to $3 million to apply. We still have plenty of money there to give away. We have about $2.5 million left in the CARES nonprofit grant pool. 1 million of that came to High Point through United Way, and 1.5 million of that originally went to Greensboro's United Way for nonprofit agencies. Our board meetings are virtual, all virtual now, and our next board meeting is tomorrow. So all is well in the land of the commissioners. You know, we're embarking on the quarter-cent sales tax, bond referendum, and we're staying plenty busy. So Marty's also on. I don't know if there's anything that Marty needs to add.
I'll just add a little bit to what Carl Vena said about our small business assistance grant program. We were very fortunate to receive $93.7 million directly from the federal government because of our total population. And we identified $20 million to go towards small business assistance grants. In our first phase, which ran for 5 or 6 weeks, we received about 3,000 applications and awarded about 1,300 grants, totaling about $7.2 million. Most of those we turned around within 1 or 2 days. If they had all their information, it was a quick turnaround. The second phase, we've expanded it. The first round, we reduced your grant. The maximum grant you can receive is $10,000. And we had a provision to reduce the grant by any PPP or EIDL money that was received. So we eliminated that. There was no restrictions. People who had a reduced grant can reapply if they received less than 10,000. And in the first 3 days since we relaunched, we've received over 300 applications and probably have awarded over $500,000. So I'm thinking that, I don't have the report in front of me, but the percentage of those grants is probably less than 20% in High Point. So if you can talk that up in the High Point area, it is real money. It's a grant, it's not a loan. But we're interested in getting that out quickly as we can. So we'd like to see more applications from High Point.
Thank you very much to you all. Representative John Faircloth, anything to share?
Yeah, a few things I should mention. Obviously, 1920 was an interesting year as far as the appropriations of funding that we try to get out to the cities. And we had, frankly, one of the best budgets that we've had since I'd been down there anyway. But the governor didn't agree, so that changed the plan back in the spring. And we had to resort to some mini budgets on specific items, and we were able to get bipartisan support for most of those. And that worked out fairly well. It protected some things that might otherwise have been injurious to the folks back home. We are not in session right now, and we're also awaiting word from the federal government as to whether or not, and we hope that's already decided, it's just when more federal funding will be available to help us to solve some of our problems that we still have going on. I think we'll know about that pretty soon. They seem to be pretty active in Washington trying to reach agreement. We will be going back in September and go back in session just for a short while, probably a couple of weeks or so, to attend to whatever things we have to. And then, of course, the election's going on, and that once we pass that in November, we go back down in the spring, and this time around the Senate will be leading the budget process. So we have to be a little more careful how we deal with it. We accuse them of not being quite as willing to spend the dollars we are, but we can still get along. And but I would suggest to the mayor and all of you that first of all, and we keep the word going in Raleigh that High Point is moving forward. I've done everything I possibly could, and as a delegation, to try to keep us in funding, such as what we did for the furniture market. If they are able to have the market this fall, we got the $75,000 they'll need to keep things cleaned up and safe. So we've tried to keep our fingers on the need back home, but we need to interact. We need to have local government and the delegation working together as we go back down there in the spring. And I feel good about the way things are shaping up, given the limitations we have. We're all learning things now, just as we're sitting here looking at each other through technology instead of face to face. So things are changing, but I'm always proud to say I represent Gilbert County and High Point, and we'll keep exchanging ideas.
Mr. Chairman, this is Lauren Hill again. The staff has agreed that we will forego closed session today, but since we only have 5 minutes to go, and we do want to hear from Tom Conley, Melody Burnett, and others who might have something worth us to hear about as a group in the next 5 minutes.
It's a great point. So let's go ahead with Tom.
Thank you. I'll be very, very brief. We are planning on having an October market. And I want to publicly thank Marty for his two great people that we're working with, Dr. Van and Don Campbell. And we are probably on the 4th or 5th iteration of a plan that the county will approve and support, that will then go to the governor's team. And we hope to submit it to the governor after Labor Day sometime. And then a special shout out and thanks to John Faircloth and the entire delegation for helping us get the $725,000 of CARES Act money, because we need every penny of it. It's going to be a little smaller market, there's no question about it, but we're convinced that we can keep everybody safe, not only our guests, but our residents. And so we're going to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that we have a market. I probably don't have to tell the EDC that the $6.3 billion worth of economic impact is at stake here. We weren't able to do anything in April or June, and we just can't afford as a community to lose all of the economic impact in 2020. So we're going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Melody, turn it over to you.
Sure. Our hotels and our short-term rentals are taking a smaller climb upwards. So our occupancy is around 30% now. Our Airbnb market hasn't taken quite a hit, so it's been sustaining very well. I do have a graphic to show. Of course, you should know that we are now Visit High Point, doing business as Visit High Point. So you should see some new rebranding materials. We also launched a new event calendar at the end of June. So just go to visithighpoint.com to see virtual or live events as we can have them in phase 2.
Thank you. I have to mute myself. Tony Clark.
Yes, I set my timer to 1 minute, so here we go.
All right.
Basically, we've been offering classes on campus since May, but right now all our campuses are open and all our programs are open. I was actually at the High Point campus today, and we were doing advising and other testing and things. So everything's open. We are offering about 25% more online classes than last year, but we are offering our labs, our industrial labs on campus, as well as our math and English classes, because there is a digital divide and we don't want to cut off access for students. So we are bringing faculty back to campus, and we are moving forward. The last thing is we are partnering with Guilford County Schools. They are, encouraging or offering to students to enroll in our dual enrollment program, which is a free college program. So they can take free college courses with us, as that would also count for high school credit. And as part of that, we used our CARES money to pay the fees for those students. So the GCS students who are qualified can go ahead and enroll for free in our college classes this fall. Thank you very much.
That's great. So we'll move on to Jim Worley.
High Point University, we're ready to go. August 17th, 18th, the fall semester comes. We're face to face, and there's been a lot of contingency planning, and we're ready for the students to come back. We miss them tremendously, and we're ready to go.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Ray Gibbs? Is Ray still on?
Trying to unmute here. Kind of trying to get things moving forward again. You know, we had to cancel our summer concert series at the stadium. You know, one of the things that a lot of folks don't know, even though the Rockers have not been playing, you know, there's been a lot of baseball being played in there in the month of June. There actually was 66 baseball games played in the month of June and over 70 in the month of July. They've been high school baseball being played. So it's been, and a lot of other community events. So one of the things I think Pete's really doing is showing that it's a community facility and not just a professional baseball stadium. So that's great work. I mean, we have a new work plan that's very aggressive to try to come out of things strong once we're able to, and trying to work through, you know, a number of projects with the city and Lauren and Sandy to try to get some things growing again once we can start.
Thank you, Ray. And I know we're down to town. How about Patrick Chapin?
I have 12 seconds between me and Brent, so I'm going to use 11 of them real quick. I am in Condon Yards Commons, which opens in the fall, and I'm going to move those wheels above us are gears, and that is Tom Van Dessel creating those as acoustics. So it's very timely. It also ties into your logo, Sandy. So I love it. But we're all set to open in November. Yes, David purchased a new building or another building. We're up to 225,000 square feet, $40 million by the Condon. So the catalyst of the catalyst, working real closely with the master developer. So all is good. Oh, State of the City, August 13th, 10 a.m. Go to our website. And then on August 27th, we're doing a big unveil, some other big announcements about Condon Yards on August 27th. So bhpchamber.org. You got 2 seconds, Brent.
Go ahead, Brent.
Everybody knows that Dukies are really good at last second shots. So especially we'll let our Tar Heels know that as well. Although I think they already do. I will cut it short, Mr. Chairman, and just say it's great to see everybody's face again. As Lauren said, it's been great working with the team. Instead of getting together every 4 to 6 weeks, we do get together every week. Good news is that economic development continues to soldier on. We'll have a public hearing tomorrow evening at the county about a project that would bring a couple hundred jobs to Guilford County. So we're excited about that. So we continue to make progress in light of everything else that's going on. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
And for the audience, that was Brent Christensen, the president of the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce.
Probably, let me look.
All right. Well, great. Sorry about that. We we have to cut the meeting short, but nevertheless, it was a great meeting. Great information. Everyone stay safe. And unless there's anything else, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Bye, everybody.
Good to see you all.
Bye.
Stay